Dracarys! Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 5 will be known as the Revengeance of Daenerys. She will show everyone just what exactly fire and blood means, and as someone who has lost everything near and dear to her, pretty sure Cersei is royally fucked. In this video, I want to discuss what exactly may go down in Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 5. I'm also going to mention a few spoilers and a few things you may or may not have missed from that Episode 5 teaser. As usual, here's your sign, and let's begin. Before we get started, please slap a like on this video, as a like goal is going to be 4,420. Also, we are super close to hitting 100,000 here on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe, and then make sure you have your notifications turned on, so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video. Long night! Now, like I've stated before in many videos, traditionally, the second to last episode of this season is balls to the wall, insane nuts, and filled with death. This is not only the second to last episode of this season, but also of the series. Daenerys has been downtrodden on for literally ever since she arrived in Westeros, and after episode 4, she's lost literally everything close to her. I mean, just think about it. No other character in A Song of Ice and Fire, or in Game of Thrones rather, has lost so much so quickly and have been doing the right thing the entire time. Ever since she arrived to Westeros, Jon intercepted and say, hey, there's a war that you're fighting to sort of take the Iron Throne, but there's this northern war, this greater threat. Now I need you to lay everything on the line, risk everything close to you that you love and hold dear. But after all that, Daenerys, we expect you to act rational and calm, and when this cunt beheads your BFF and then pushes her off of a building in front of you after just killing your son, we expect you to act rational and not jump into anything and, you know, go berserk on anyone, or else we're gonna label you the Mad Queen. Believe it or not, that's actually the mentality of some folks, and I actually caught myself thinking that way in my last breakdown of episode 4, which, speaking of which, you can actually click right up here on this link or the link down below in the description and you can go and watch that video. But in my opinion, anything Daenerys does in this next episode is going to be 100% justified. Now, I know it's gonna suck to watch her burn the innocent, which I doubt she's going to do that. That will likely be a last resort type of situation, but any type of revengeance that she's going to wreak on anyone who has wronged her, 100% justified. She has lost everything. The fact that she can still somewhat mentally hold it together is blowing my mind. Like I stated earlier, no one in this show's history has lost so much as Daenerys so quickly. You could argue that some characters have lost, you know, maybe an equal amount as Daenerys, but it was spread out over time. Their mind had time to process and also go through the many different emotions of losing someone. She's forced to go through everything all at once, and on her way to Westeros, the people that would have stood by her side no matter what are all gone. Tyrion and Varys have not been there since day 1, and after episode 4, we can see they're clearly plotting against their queen. Maybe not so much Tyrion, but he's also doing a piss poor job of standing up for Daenerys. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Anything that our queen does, aside from murdering Jon Snow in cold blood or killing a Stark, will be justified. The queen's justice will be wreaked across all of the 7 kingdoms. All those poopy smelling people inside King's Landing would likely murder Daenerys given the first chance, and I know it would sort of suck to watch innocents being brutally murdered or roasted alive on screen, but after we saw Rhaegal shot through the fucking face with his spear, anyone can die. Anyone associated with murdering the dragon in Missandei can die. And I know some of y'all watching are like, wait a second, dude, you always preach about how you're supposed to be impartial and look at everything from all sides. Well, yes, but I have long since said in my 400 plus videos here on YouTube that I am fire and blood, meaning I am always behind House Targaryen. Daenerys and Jon Snow are the last of their house, and Daenerys is a dragon. My advice to her in episode 5, be a fucking dragon. Follow the advice of your father and burn them all. And now that my mic is completely covered in spit, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into what we actually see from this episode 5 teaser. Now, one of the very first things I noticed when watching this promo was that at the very end, I'm looking for Daenerys' vengeance this whole time, and when I hear a dragon screech and then see Euron look up, I'm like, alright, some crap is about to hit the fan. Hopefully it's Euron's burned and charred corpse. Speaking of which, I guess I need to go ahead and throw up a spoiler warning right now. Go ahead and skip ahead a few seconds if you don't want to know about what I'm about to talk about. It's most likely a load of needs to be taken with a grain of salt. There was a plot leak that went down very similar to the last few seconds of this trailer. Apparently, there's a moment where Daenerys and Euron are fighting at sea, and Euron successfully kills Daenerys. He drags her corpse onto his ships, and then when he arrives back at King's Landing, him and Cersei throw her body over the wall and sort of just dangle it there as Jon Snow and Daenerys' army watch horrified. Now, obviously, that won't happen, or I mean, will it? It kind of almost happened in the last episode. Like, I don't know if he'll be able to do the part with the corpse, but as far as almost taking her out, well, he literally has almost done this just this past episode. One would even call it foreshadowing. But if we sort of take a step back and I don't jump the gun a bit, there's no way that actually goes down. As we can see, there's a bit of a time jump in this episode. It's going to be another long one, and Daenerys is back at Dragonstone in several of these quick scenes that we view in the teaser. Now, there's something that I want to address really quickly. I noticed in the comment section of my last video that a lot of people were like, hey, you noticed that dragon screech at the very end of the teaser? That doesn't sound like Drogon, and Daenerys is on Dragonstone, and there have been said to be fossilized dragon eggs there. Here's the thing. Even if that's the case and Daenerys is able to hatch those eggs, they're going to be babies, and they're not going to help her much in this fight. And there's no chance that there's some living huge dragon that's in stone. It's not going to happen. Now, what may actually go down is that dragons in George R. Martin's universe are asexual, meaning they can reproduce without actually having to mate. I guess Drogon could technically lay some eggs and then fertilize them himself. The fact that he would have lost two of his brothers would mean that he knows that they're the last of the dragons, and there's a small chance that maybe in the end, whoever survives, whether that be Jon Snow and Daenerys or just one of them, they could discover this clutch of eggs at the very end, maybe even after Drogon has died. But I'm going to go ahead and say that if Daenerys does die by the end of this series, then that means that Jon Snow 100% guaranteed lives. And if he does lose Daenerys, then him embracing his Targaryen side is just a matter of time. Jon will do everything in his power to make sure the Seven Kingdoms never forget all the sacrifices that Daenerys made, and it would be insanely epic if Daenerys' last words to Jon Snow were, "Be a dragon." One thing you may have missed is that at about 20 seconds into the teaser, the YouTube version anyway, Euron walks on his ship and just sort of looks at something a little bit perturbed, like he wasn't expecting and seeing this. In my opinion, this is right when Yara shows up. The look on Euron's face, that's right, I said his name wrong, he's gonna be known as Piss from now on, but the look on Euron's face says unexpected. Yara retaking the Iron Islands and then arriving to aid Daenerys would be one of the last things Euron would be expecting, especially since the last he known, Yara was his prisoner. The next thing that I want to discuss is something that I sort of briefly mentioned earlier, is the moment in a teaser where Jon Snow and Tyrion walk out to the walls of King's Landing, and it appears as though he's about to go and meet with Cersei. I've mentioned before in several of my videos, so I shouldn't really have to do this, but spoiler warning, Kit Harington and Lena Headey were spotted filming a scene. In this scene, it looks as though Jon Snow bends the knee to Cersei Lannister. Now, the running rumor was the only reason or the only thing that could make Jon do this is if someone close to him was kidnapped. Everyone thought that the Golden Company would sneak up to Winterfell right after the dead had finished attacking and kidnap either Sansa, Arya, or just one of the Starks. Now, you see, here's the thing. Now that we watched Season 8 unfold, that plotline doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, there's a small possibility that Cersei has already sent a few Golden Company members up to go and attack Winterfell, but I doubt they would be able to get back in time because remember, Jon's already headed down to King's Landing, and I'm positive that this scene that he shares with Tyrion will not only happen early on in the episode, but it's also going to be extremely agonizing to have and watch. It's going to be so suspenseful, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat all episode, yet again. Now, what could actually potentially happen in this scene with Jon Snow and Cersei is that Jon's lineage will be sort of discussed. Cersei will bring up the fact that if the two of them made an alliance, then it would be the greatest alliance in the Seven Kingdoms, and they could finally have civil unrest. Jon could go and rule from the north, and Cersei would rule from the south. Cersei would, of course, ask Jon to betray Daenerys, and we all know he's not going to do that. Jon's response is going to be, I may be the heir to the Iron Throne, but I don't want it, and Daenerys is my queen. Well, Cersei's not going to like this, and the fact that there are only 2 episodes remaining in Game of Thrones, and she's basically backed herself into a corner, she's most likely going to take Jon Snow hostage. And if you're thinking I may have jumped the gun there, well, we've actually seen images of Harry Strickland, who is this hooded figure clearly standing right there behind the Golden Company in this teaser, walking with Jon to go and meet with Cersei. Now, Jon doesn't have his sword in this scene, and he appears to be somewhat dressed down, almost as if he's removed a few layers of his armor. And just to sort of add to this, the very first moments of the trailer show Daenerys sort of looking out at see, and then Tyrion creeping up behind her with this look on his face that says, what is she about to do? I don't know how she's gonna take the news that I'm telling her, but I am in fear for my life. Now, what's interesting is that Tyrion is back at Dragonstone. I know why Daenerys flew back there, and that's because it's dangerous for her to stay that close to King's Landing. If anything, it would be smart for Tyrion to maneuver himself and stay somewhat close there, so he could negotiate with Cersei and potentially disarm the wildfire bomb that she has laying under the streets of King's Landing. Yeah, that's right, the moment in the teaser where Cersei looks out there at all of King's Landing, she's not reveling in the fact that, oh, look at my awesome kingdom. She's reveling in the fact that she's gonna get to watch it all blow up in green smoke and flame. She's insane. And if you don't think she has some crazy sort of plan to just end all be all, then, well, then you haven't been paying attention. But just sort of getting back on track here, the scene that Tyrion has at the very beginning of the trailer where he's creeping up slow behind Daenerys, in my opinion, is right after Jon Snow's been captured. The only reason why Jon will go and parlay with Cersei is under Tyrion's influence. He will likely explain to Jon that Cersei's not going to hear anything Daenerys, the foreign queen who threatens everything she holds dearly, has to say, but she may listen to a member of House Stark, the Warden of the North. Jon Snow will feel as though it's his duty to have some sort of last-ditch effort to convince Cersei to lay down their arms. I think that's going to backfire on him, and I think Cersei's going to take him captive right then and there and hope that maybe she could negotiate some sort of deal with Daenerys. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. Cersei's not really trying to make any deals. If she's keeping Jon Snow as a prisoner, it will likely be to kill him in front of Daenerys, hoping that she will rage out in the process. One thing I will have to say is expect Cersei to fight fire with fire. I'm pretty sure she has barrels of wildfire that she will launch onto whatever Daenerys' army shows up. I feel like we maybe see both sides burning, the good guys in green and the bad guys in red, and instead of that blue red flame that we had crashing at Winterfell, it'll be a green and red flame crashing at King's Landing. And just sort of commenting back on what I was suggesting earlier about Jon getting captured, if he does get captured, I'm pretty sure that the rescue team that's headed towards to go save him right now, that being Arya, Sandor, and then potentially Jaime, are gonna do something about his imprisonment. If Arya and Sandor don't do it, then I'm positive Jaime will, because we gotta remember, when Jaime first arrived to Winterfell, Jon was sort of the last person that gave him the A-OK. Jaime sort of owes Jon one for sticking up for him when he first arrived in Winterfell. Now, another thing that I commented on earlier, and I'll mention a few more thoughts on it right now, is that when Daenerys is up in the clouds and we can't see her and we're just looking Euron's reaction to whatever he sees up in the air, the dragon screech does sound a little bit different, but I'm 100% sure that it's not Daenerys riding on some new dragon. I think what it may be, and this was something that I sort of gave up on after episode 3, was that the dragon could be wearing some sort of helmet or maybe breastplate armor, and that's why its screech sounds a little bit muffled. I know this is super far-fetched, but wouldn't it be awesome if the Golden Company does turn tail on Cersei and then provide Daenerys with dragon armor that they brought all the way over from Essos? Maybe it's of the ancient Valyrian kind, or maybe if Drogon doesn't have armor, maybe Daenerys does. We have to realize that the tables were so reversed in this last episode that the good guys seemingly do not stand a chance, just like they did when fighting the dead at Winterfell. Well, in this episode, I'm positive that about halfway through it, everything's gonna flip around. The good guys will come out on top, and Cersei will pay for her treachery. Now, I just want to mention one more thing about Daenerys' death before I get out of here. Jon Snow has lost the previous love of his life by being killed by someone that was actually close to Jon. Now, I don't know if it's just me staying up too late at night, but I feel like that might have been foreshadowing to how Jon will maybe lose Daenerys. What if she is about to murder a bunch of innocents and Jon can't really do anything to stop her? Well, he can, but his heart won't let him do it. If that's the case, maybe someone like Arya will step in and kill Daenerys before she can murder innocents in King's Landing. Now, I don't want that to happen, but we have to remember, no one is safe, and when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. Alright, and with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video. So the like goal is going to be 4,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed. We have a subscriber goal of trying to reach 100,000 strong, and then make sure your notifications turned on, so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video. Long night. Super special shout out to every single person watching, and a super special thank you to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name's Mark. This has been Sir Hunts Reviews.